here they're parshonim as well. So we have the Rosh, which is like Rashi here in a way. Rashi himself, most of the opinions are is not Rashi, is Talmidei Rashi. And the Ran over here does stick to his general style, but here in the Gemara, it's a parshan. And tastes are well here different than other tastes, and is more like a parshan than asking questions and giving answers. Okay, so we have Nedarim, and we have what exactly is a neder? The Gemara will explain here that base that the shvuah is a neder. A shvuah is when you say that I won't do something; it devolves on the person, and a neder is when you say that this object is forbidden to me. And that's what a neder is. You're putting an isser on a chayfetz. If I make a shvuah, I can only asr on myself. I can't asr on anybody else. If I make a neder, I can, especially if it's like a carbon, I can make it kodesh. I can make the chayfetz asr, asr as well, and perhaps others. Also, a shvuah can be chal al davar she'ein by mamish. I won't go to sleep, but you can't make a neder on something that's not tangible because it has to be chal on something. Is big machlek is a shaynim. What exactly is a neder? According to the Rosh, Taisus, and Ran in some places, I'm sure it's other places not here, holds that the ikar neder is bedover hanoder, which means a neder mahatoida is if I say that this flesh is going to be usher to me like a carbon. Now, a carbon is a dover hanoder. A carbon is an ordinary animal that you take and you consecrate it. So that's a dover hanoder. And I'm comparing this to a carbon. So I'm matfasit. According to the Rosh and Teis Mahatoida, what's a neder? Only if you matfasit bedover hanoder. If you just say that this meat should be usher to me, according to Mefarshim in Teis and the Rosh and others, it's a yodis. It's only a handle. It's only like it's still Mahatoida, but it's not the full neder. The Ran holds that Mahatoida is right here, and other Rishonim, in fact, Taisus in other places, but not here. In Tamura, they hold that the main thing of a neder is either way. You can either really a neder, you don't have to be tefus to anything. This flesh is also to me, that's a neder. If you are going to compare it to something else, then it has to be a davar hanoder. If you're going to compare it, to say I want it to be, don't say should be like chazan, because chazan is also from the Torah. It's not up to you. So therefore, if you say I want this flesh to be also like chazan, everyone agrees it's worthless. If you are going to compare it to something else, if you're going to be matfus it and you take it, then it has to be something compared to a davar hanoder. Okay, so that's the ikar neder mahatoida. Then we have a concept called kinuyin, and we have a concept called yadus. Kinuyin means a machlekes Rabbi Yechon Reish Lakish. According to Rabbi Yechon, kinuyin means that they are words that other people use. It's other languages, other words. And according to Reish Lakish, it's lashon shebod l'chachamim. Chachamim made up certain words that have no meaning, but they said these are the words that are going to be used for a neder kinuyin. And why is that? Because they were scared that if you're going to be matfis, and you can compare it to a carbon, by carbon you say carbon Hashem. So if you're going to be matfis it, and you're going to say, why don't you say Hashem, carbon, then you will say the Abish's name. To avoid anyone using the Abish's name, we decided, you know what, we're going to make kinuyim, we're going to make up these words. Then as machlek is a shaynim, according to the Shlakish, you make kinuyim, it's a losh about the chacham. So does that mean the net is only midrabanan, or that net is also matfid? So when it comes to neder, it doesn't really make a difference. But when it comes to nazir, for example, we know that you bring a carbon if you become tamid. But if it's only lashon shabbat chachamim, how can you be bringing a carbon? So the machlek is that gufa. Whether if you use a kinu by naziris, is it mahatera, which is what many of the Shem hold, or it's only midrabanan, because lashon shabbat chachamim, and you take it or bring a carbon. And when our mission says kinuim, we're talking about the dorim, not about nazir. The Harayah in Nazir doesn't mention about kinuim. And those who hold that it's the same thing because it's already included here, you don't have to repeat it again. And then you have yodis. Yodis means like a handle of a kevi. It's not the kevi itself, it's only a handle. In other words, you started saying something, but you didn't really finish explicitly what you're trying to say. But we know what you mean. And then we'll learn later in the Gemara, there's yadayim moichichas and yadayim she'ein moichichas. There's yadayim which clearly obvious what you mean. And then he says sometimes yadayim she'ein moichichas. We'll have a shmuel will say, we'll have also kedushin. Okay. Let's now do the Mishnah. It says the Mishnah that based on Aleph, Kol kinuyin nedarim kinedarim. The kinu of a neder has the same status as a neder. And so according to what we just said, these are words like a nickname, which either that and the l'chayda, if it means like a in other languages, just say any language. What mean kinuyim? Because this is like butchered up. It's words that are not that you took a normal English word or whatever it is and you butchered it up, but nevertheless we know what you mean and that's good enough. Surely, if you spoke in English and you said I'm taking a neder, that's a neder matayda. We're talking about over here is that you said it in a broken English or in a butchered up way. That's also considered matayda. Or even if you don't, these words, or even if you don't understand what they are, you'll be liable because you're still making a neder. So kol kinui nedarim kedarim by nedarim. The charamim kecharamim. A chedim is when you either donate to the Beis Hamikdash or you donate to Kohanim. The two kinds of charamim, and you use the lashon as a charamim. You use the kini of the lashon of charamim. They're also considered like a chedim. The shvuas keshvuas, and also the kini of a shvuah is like a shvuah. The naziris kinaziris, and by naziris as well like a nazir. Now, the Mishnah doesn't mention the word yodis, but the examples we're going to give now are actually yodis. If a person started off saying either, I am, I'm going to be ushered to you. I don't want you to have any benefit from me. You didn't spell out what kind of benefit. Or I'm going to be separated from you, but how is it going to manifest itself? Or he used one of these three introductions, or I'm going to distance myself from you. Sha'ani oichelach, and then he spells out that I'm not going that which I eat from you, or sha'ani tana or taste from you. Aser it is aser. Still not a complete sentence, but you know exactly what you mean over here. It's called a yad. It's a handle. Menuda anilach, and if he says menuda anilach, I am menuda to you. What kind of language is menuda? Means chedim. What do you mean? I'm a chedim to you. What exactly does that mean? Is Rabbi Kiva Hayochaych was he's like moving his lips lahachmet to be machmed. I want that it should be chal and that you should have to distance yourself from him like you know do business with him and all that. Yeah, no, he's not 100%. He says the Gemara. So the Mishnah starts off talking about Kenuyim, but the examples it gives is more yad. Because Kenuyim, we'll see in the next mission of you. What a Kenuyim is, are words made up. You know, chadi, different words. Nothing to do with the words here. So, kol Kenuyim nedarim kedarim, all the Kenuyim nedarim is like a darim. Maish nagabi nozid, like tani lulukula. Why is it? Why by nozid? It only talks about nozid. Doesn't here now Mishnah. Once you talk about nozid, you talk about chedim, you talk about shvua, you talk about nazidus, and in the Masechta nozid, it only talks about nozid. There it says called kinui nazirus again. So the Rabbanon or the Raisa, and like Tanakula, but doesn't mention the shavua over there. Also, should have said the same thing. The flip side, and neder, shvua, and chedim. Or Maishna Gabin Adon Tanakula. Why by neder says them all? So we say Mishum the neder ushvua ksiva gabe hadodi. Because Neder and Shvua are written in the same pasuk, Tani Tartan. Because they're written in the same pasuk, so therefore it mentions both. And the Kivan, the Tani Tartan, Tani Lakula. And once we mentioned these two, we already mentioned 2 out of the 4. So you say, you know what? We'll mention them all as well. It says Kiyida Neder La Shema Hishava Shvua. So you mentioned the same pasuk, Neder and Shvua. Once you mention Neder and Shvua already, because the same pasuk, you already throw in Nazir, you throw in already Chedim as well. Now, why we were learning Masechta D'Oraita Ksuvos, the Gemara say to ask the question right in the beginning, and we say because Hamadir is all about Nedarim, so we move into Nedarim. The others say because even Gemara says a reason. Others say because Nedarim is a lot to do with a husband breaking and being annulling the neder of his wife, and therefore we learn Ksuvos. It's all about the relationship with husband and wife, and the obligations and so on. So and the entitlements. So we mentioned learn Nedarim. Now, so Gemara says, so releasing kinu shvu is boss Nedarim. If the whole reason is because it says Nedarim and shvu is in the same pasuk, so the Mishnah should have said called kinu Nedarim kedarim. Then shvu is keshvuas, and then charamim. Why do you throw charamim right in between neder and shvu? Says the Gemara, I did the tani Nedarim because he mentions Nedarim. The mitzvah chefza alei because he mentions Nedarim. That is isa chefza. That means you're answering the object on yourself. Ton nami charamim. Therefore, it mentions charamim, which is very similar. As the mitzvah chefza aleh, that you answer the chaypetz on you. La'afuke shvua. This comes to negate shvua. They call asa nafshei min chefza. By shvua, I am asa to the chaypetz. I will not eat the meat. The isa is on me. My neder, the isa is on the object, and that's what we'll see later. You cannot make a shvua to not to sit in the sukkah, because you already swore in Har Sinai will do all the mitzvahs. Ain't shvua chala shvua, but you could make a neder that the sukkah is forbidden to me, and then once you do that, you cannot walk into the sukkah. You can make all sukkahs forbidden to you. You can make any sukkah, but you never on Har Sinai sukkahs didn't become object. That's it. Now. So we have clearly Gemara the chilik between So this concept, Isa Gabra, Isa Chefzer of Chaim Brisker, is something that is clear. However, there's a beautiful Avi nature that talks about when we say Isa Gabra Chefzer, he says the truth of the matter, they're both. Every Aveda is Isa Gabra and Isa Chefzer. You're not allowed to eat Chaz, and Chaz is also to you. But what it means is, what's the Sibba, what's the Mesubba? What's the cause and what's the effect? Is it because the Chaz is awesome? Therefore, I cannot eat it. That's called Isa Chefzer. That the Chayfetz, therefore, is what Asas Amios. Isa Gabra means, I'm not allowed, I think that's me as well. But because, since I'm not allowed to eat meat, so therefore the meat became Asas to me. So at the end of the day, they're all the same. The Chilik is what's the Sibba, the Mesubba, and then after is Allah between Nadir and Shua. What about Nazir? Where does Nazir fit in? So look, we have a few minutes. Let's look at the Rosh over here. Every shua is I won't eat flesh. So what does that mean? Therefore, I cannot eat it.
So what's an example where I can't do something? When would it be governed in that way?
So if you don't want to let go of the days, the partial shot is I make a sure I'm not allowed to eat flesh. The flesh is mutter. Just the reason why I'm also is because I did it. This is my goof. This is my goof. That's a sure. And Isa Gabra is only served Rabbanan according to most.
To put an example in the way that I say, like the Lord says, how do I do it?
That's a different way you're responsible. Are you responsible for the animal?
The difference is on who's the achrayus that
this
animal has to go as a carbon, or is it that I have to give an animal?
Exactly. The dove is on the chayfetz. Exactly. Now, where does Nazir fit in? Let's do the Rosh here on the left side. Big machlekes. Let's do the Rosh. Sorry, if you have the Gemara on the left side is Peter Sharash, and the third one is Lafukish Shvua the Aser. If you see the Rosh, right here, Peter Sharash. You look in your Gemara on the very left side of the page. It says Peter Sharash. Small words. Just where does Nazir fit in? There's a big argument in the Shainim. Lafukish Shvua the Aser nafshim mechetzav. Shvua is you are not allowed to have something. Nefesh kisishba, a person who swears. Shenishba shalayasa davazeh. What's a shvur? Shvur is I swear I won't do something. The nazir. So where does nazir fit in? Is nazir like a neder or nazir like a shvur? That is a nazir I won't drink wine, or is a nazir that the wine is forbidden to me, that all the mesim are forbidden to me. The nazir afa pisha neser beyayin, even though you're not allowed to drink wine. Einoi neser hayayin olav. Oh, so it's not like a neder. He said, a nozir is not like a neder that the wine is forbidden to me. It's on me that I won't drink wine. I will be a nozir. Therefore, because you're a nozir, the wine is forbidden to glachas. So the Rosh clearly says that a nozir is an itzigah. But many of the Shayim hold that no. A nozir is actually an itzigah. The wine is forbidden to you. The hair is forbidden to remove. All mesim are forbidden to you. That a nozir is like Isa Chefzer, because the pasuk of nozir is the same pasuk which says Lim the Neder nozir l'hazir. So therefore they're the same. Then you have the Marit who brings three classes, and the nozir is sort of a mixture of both. A nozir is sort of a mixture of both. That I am not allowed to drink the wine which is forbidden to me, because your goof comes kaddish. He argues that on the one hand it's like the wine is also you, but what's another? You become a holy person. As we'll see more later, why Nazir is a good thing. So you becoming a holy person, then so it's both Gabra and Chefzer. Then you have the Radvaz who holds the fourth shitta. He says that certain aspects of Nazir are Gabra and certain are Chefzer. The wine is a Chefzer. It's awesome. He says taking a haircut. He says not that your hair became a wife. Only one part of you is Kodesh. He says therefore by your hair, I'm not allowed to take a haircut. So he holds that a Nazir is a combination of both. So you have four shittas in how to understand Nazir. If there would have been a fifth shitta, we would have had one down as well. Okay, let's continue back to the Gemara. Says the Gemara, that's a question. Pasach bekinuyim. The Mishnah starts off kinuyim, right? The kinuyim of the Nedarim, kol kinuyim Nedarim, and we're farish. And then what's the example the Mishnah gives is yadus. That's yadus. He didn't complete. I'm separating from you. I'm the Frashani Mechav, and then I won't eat for you. So you never kinui is in the next Mishnah. That's yud. That's question number one. Vesu yodas inshi aidi behind, and also yodas we forgot to Bechal mention it. Where does the Mishnah even mention the word yodas? Interesting expression. Inshi aidi behind. Different. Some of the shaynas you find in the Nedarim are different than our normal mesechtas. So the Gemara, the Chesurim, actually words are missing here. The Hachi Tani, our Mishnah, missing words, and this is what I should have said. Kol kinu yadarim kiladorim. And then the Mishnah should have added the Yadis Ladarim Kiladorim, and then the Mishnah explains what Yadis are. So the Gemara is still not happy. If the Mishnah said Yadis second, then shouldn't we first have given examples of what Kinuyim are? And then the order of the Mishnah, and then follow the sequence, and then you do the Kinuyim. And then you do Yadis. The Mishnah, the words are missing is Yadis, and then the first thing it explains is Yadis. Why don't we explain Kinuyim first? That's what the Mishnah mentions first. Many times the Mishnah has a habit that if the last thing it mentions is the first thing that explained. I'll prove it to you. Now we learn what kind of oils should we use, what kind of oil should you use, and what kind of wicks and so on. And the first thing it explains is what you shouldn't use. Or Taina means Shabbat, it says what you can hide in, what you can't hide in, and then the first thing it does is ain't Taina, does what you can't. What a woman's allowed to wear in Shabbos and allowed to wear in Shabbos, and then the first thing it does is they say to Isha. So we see this. It's common for a Mishnah to explain first the second thing, the last thing that it talks about. Says he wanted that a rule. You tell me that's the rule that every time the Mishnah starts off with a few like introduction, a few different items, it always explains the last thing first. But now you learn in Basanev Pedic, yes, noichli. There are those noichli umachili. There are those who, when let's say a father yash, if his son passes the predeceased him, he yashes his son. He's noichel his son and umanchil. And if he outlives his son. Sorry, if his son outlives him, he bequeaths to his son. That's the Mishnah starts off. Then it says noichli amachis. Other people noichli the yashin, and there are those who are noichel, but they're not manchil. For example, a person is his mother. He yashes his mother, but if he dies, he doesn't bequeath it back to his mother. And then the Mishnah starts off. The first thing it explains is the first din. Then another one. Yesh mutaris lebalei. Now those women that are permitted to the husband, let's say an almana to a kohen hedjit is permitted to the husband. But if the husband dies without any children, she cannot go to the brother-in-law who's a kohen gadol, or vice versa. Mutaris lebalei. A almana married a kohen gadol is forbidden, but when he dies, his brother's a kohen hedjit, she can marry. And then the Mishnah starts off. Eilu mutaris lebalei explains the first part first. Another example. Interesting. I'll give so many examples. Okay, then we have yesh to una. Those kabbalah that require shemen ulavoina. Let's say you bring a carbon mincha, it requires oil and frying. A normal mincha, right? Oil in a frying pan. So the frying is deep or shallow. It requires oil and frying incense. Then that kabbalah is shemen oil v'loilavoina. Let's say the mincha and the sicha that come with kabbalah, shemen alavoina. And then it says the elu tuna shemen v'lavoina. Let's explain it first. Another example. Don't know why we need so many examples. Yesh to unas hagosha. No, don't tell me it's only an exception. Okay, actually, another show you comment on that. No. Yesh to unas hagosha. There are certain kabbanas they have to bring the mincha, let's say, touch the mizbeach itself. And yesh, and the angel trufa, they don't have to be waved at all. And yesh. Trufa v'lagosha are those that the trufa where the kohen puts his hand underneath the bailim's hand and they wave it, but there's no hagosha. And the elu to is hagosha. A mincha v'chayte requires, let's say, hagosha, but there's no waving at all. and I would say that we learned before you do wave, you do what do you call it, bring it to the bed, but there's no waving. And yet, what is explained first? Another example. You have a case where somebody is a b'choil nachla, that he gets double portion when it comes to inheritance. That when it comes to a kohen, is not a b'choil that requires pidyon haben. Let's say, for example, there was a miscarriage, and then this person was born. As far as pidyon haben is concerned, he's not the first. He's not peterech. But as far as Yerusha is concerned, he is the firstborn. Yet you have b'choil l'kohen. You have a case of a b'choil l'kohen of a b'choil nachla. Let's say he had already children with another wife. So as far as his inheritance is concerned, he already has a b'choil. But he marries a new wife, another wife, and has the first child. That's a b'choil l'pidyon for kohen. Okay, the mother exhausted all his rights. The mother. Halin mishum the avshalei, the footage of the puzzle, where you have a number of details more than just one or two. That's not just yes and no. You have a number of details. If we're going to start with the last one, you're going to forget all the first one. Who the postulation? Then you go back. Then you go back to the first one. But if it's only like, what can a woman carry? A woman cannot carry. It's pretty straightforward. Yes and no. Yeah, yes and we're no. So then you start with the last thing. But if there's a lot of things like yes, those this what both and those that don't either. So then there's too many. We have to go back to the beginning because you're going to forget. Says whatever, but all it is the same thing. It's like I make Isha is there aren't so many things, there aren't so many things. Uktani, and it says the Yaitza first. You just gave a whole cloud. The only time it goes back to the first one is when there's many details. Here there's not too many details. Either what a behemoth can carry on Shabbos, or what a behemoth cannot carry, and then it goes back to the first ones. What's the rule? Gombal, and there's only one in there. A camel. Ella lav dafka. You know what? There are no rules. Zimni in the mefada who the possibilation. Sometimes it explains the first one. And Zimni who the sole mefada. And sometimes the last thing you learn that goes first. Simple answer. Every Tana has a style. Bottom line.
Interesting lesson in teaching, though. If you're giving a heap of details, you have to go to say there and go back to the beginning.
Exactly.
For
people to remember. Okay, another answer. Anybody say
it's not necessarily going on, it's continuing. But in terms of being Mefarish the Mishnah, it's not the same of the Mishnah. You're starting with the second.
Okay, another answer. Another answer is, you know why we explain Yodas first? Because the Tana enjoys, sometimes we say because it's something you learn from a drasha, the Tana really enjoys more. Something which is Mefurish in the Taita. Something which is from a drasha, he wants to, wow, this is our input in the Taita. So he buys him a Yodas. I did ask him a drasha. Nowhere does the Taita say clearly about Yodas, and the Gemara tomorrow will talk about when you know Yodas in the Taita. Nowhere does it mention the Taita Yodas. He's Mefarish Limidation, explains it first. So why if you love so much Yodas, why do you start off called Kinui Nedarim? You start off Kinui Nedarim, it's Nedarim. Start off called Yodas, Nedarim, Nedarim. Start with Yodas. So Gemara said, no. When it comes to there's a hierarchy. You start with the highest level, you work your way down. So he mentioned first Kinui Nedarim, which is in the Torah, Bereisha. And then Vahadim Mefarish, Yodas is the Ashlim Midrash. Not that it's not Mahatayda. But Yodas is from a drasha in the Torah, from a pasuk, an extra word in the pasuk in the Torah, and we'll see later how much like where. And therefore, we bring it down second. But when it comes to explaining and delineating, the Tana decides to learn it first. Yeah. So what do you mean that I? So you tell me that Kinuyim is that I. Is Hanichel man do amar Kinuyim lashon nachimein Kinuyim pasha. This is a language that Goyim talk. Okay, so therefore it's obvious it's Mahatayda that any ned and anything else is included. Is included. Elam the man do malashon shabbat chachamim. If you tell me it's a language which is a shlakish, that these are words that don't make sense. But the chachamim made up these words in order to avoid us having to say Lashem. In Hebrew you would say Lashem karma. So therefore they made up these words, but you know exactly what you mean. It sounds like there's no drasha from the Torah. You tell me it's a drasha from Torah. If you're telling me it's Mahatayda, Knuyim is Mahatayda, right? You're telling me it's not Torah. So if it's any language, we know that since you people live in Shavin, it's Mahatayda. But if you tell me these are words that Chacham made up, where does the Torah say that? It's only the Chacham made it up. So why is that the first thing mentioned in the Mishnah? If you tell me the Mishnah really enjoys talking about Yodas because this is a drash, then the Mishnah should open up with Yodas. The Gemara says, me, Tony, according to Shlach, it's very simple. Does it say Yodas B'chal in the Mishnah? We said that there's words missing in the Mishnah. How do you know where the words are missing in the Mishnah? According to Rabbi Yechanan, we said the words are missing in the middle of the Mishnah. According to Shlach, the opening of the Mishnah's words are missing. You said the words are missing. So you know what? Let's make it first. The Tani Yodas, the first thing in the Mishnah that should have been was omitted. Karl Yodas Nedarim Kinadarim. You're right. First thing you should have mentioned is the Yodas Nedarim is like Nedarim, because that's the moment from a pasuk. And the Chol Kinui Nedarim, and the next thing is Kol Kinui Nedarim, because that's the Lashon that the Chacham made up. The Eilu Hein Yodas, and what's Yodas? And then you give example of Yodas. That's the first part of the that's a Mishnah. And then the next Mishnah, the Eilu Kinui, and the next Mishnah is where it says Kainim. These are the words that they made up.